Hello everyone, it's Dakota and welcome back to another Pioneer video, and this week we're going to be taking a look at the Blue-Red Phoenix deck and taking it through some matches, playing through the Mana Trader series. I have yet to play any games, period, with either this deck or in the Pioneer, Mana Traders thing. So I think as long as I am playing or whatever the format is, if it's Modern or Pioneer for like the challenge, I'm going to try and qualify with various different decks, just playing through some matches and stuff like that. I think it'd be a little bit more competitive than like the tournament practice and kind of save them some money and stuff on not running it through leagues necessarily. But before I get too much into this deck and before we get into the matches, just be sure that if you're not already subscribed, to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. It's an easy way to support the channel, and you get to see various different things pertaining to the Modern and Pioneer format, as well as hopefully some future projects coming to fruition very, very soon. All right, well, with that out of the way, let's look at the Izzet Phoenix deck. Pretty simple for the most part. This deck kind of has like two modes. You could easily just play like Ledger Shredder or Thing in the Ice and kind of take over. Ledger Shredder just getting to grow so big that it eventually dodges most of the removal. Obviously, it doesn't dodge like Fatal Push, but any of the damage-based removal, it is going to quickly outgrow, which also synergizes with like discarding Arclight Phoenixes to like its Connive trigger, to then obviously put counters on Ledger Shredder and hopefully be getting back Arclight Phoenixes. Thing in the Ice, a little bit different. An 0-4 blocks very well against some of the aggressive decks. Usually it takes like a few cards for them to be able to beat through a Thing in the Ice. But when you remove the last ice counter from it, which it comes in with 4, you transform it and it becomes a 7/8 that bounces all non-horror creatures to their owner's hand. And the way that we're kind of enabling this game plan, we have 2 lightning axes, which we can cast by discarding a card, dealing 5 damage to a creature. We have considers to put cards in our graveyard and just cantrip through our deck. Opt to do like the same thing, except we're scrying instead of putting the card in our graveyard. 4 Fiery Impulse. Most of the time, this is going to deal 3 damage, and in the early turns, it dealing 2 damage is not too big of a deal. 1 Spikefield Hazard, and I believe the Seagate Restoration are more as like extra lands, but are uh, another untapped land for like Seagate Restoration. I'm assuming that this is like reasonably castable at some point in the game if it goes long enough, but I'm sure it's just there to be like an untapped blue source. Spikefield Hazard having some utility against some like 1-power things, just like another removal spell, and can be played in the land is a pinch. Galvanic Iteration, getting to double up on like Temporal Trespass or like a Treasure Cruise. Casting a like 3 mana draw 6 is very, very good. And Izzet Charm is like a modal like negate or counter target non-creature spell. Unless they pay 2, dealing 2 damage to a creature, and then of course being able to loot. Probably looting being the most important part of it because it lets us ditch Arclight Phoenixes and things like that, and fuel our Treasure Cruises. Lastly, Pieces of the Puzzle, played as a full 4 of. You reveal the top 5 cards of your library, put 2 instances of sorceries from among them in your hand, the rest in the graveyard. This pulling double duty as it's going to be able to find the Treasure Cruises, Temporal Trespasses, and other things like Consider, and then just bidding the rest of them. So if you flip over any Arclight Phoenixes, they'll immediately go to the graveyard. Pieces definitely being able to set up like future turns, like on turn 4. If you have like a Thing in the Ice or a Ledger Shredder, you're definitely going to be able to trigger the Ledger Shredder. You're going to be able to see a ton of cards and hopefully bring back 2 to 3 Phoenixes. Sideboard, honestly pretty crazy. More threats and like a Thing in the Ice in the sideboard. Disdainful Stroke, I would imagine that plus Aether Gust and stuff like that coming in against like the mono green matchups. Young Pyromancer is like another threat that you can just cast a bunch of things and just go wide, especially against like the black-red decks where, Young Pyromancer uses a removal spell, that's fine. The other threats are better just on their own rate. But if you're able to cast like a few spells before they're able to actually get rid of Young Pyromancer, you're going to make a board with a ton of 1/1s that can just kind of get in and chip your opponent, and then your flyers can end up doing the rest. Saheeli, a little bit harder to get rid of, and also doing the same thing, just making 1/1 servos. Also giving the benefit of giving an artifact you control becoming a top copy of a creature you control. Um, so like you could, in theory, have like another Arclight Phoenix with the tokens made by Saheeli, and things like that. Just something to like fly over and hit your opponent with. So that's the quick rundown of the deck. Let's go ahead and jump into some matches and see what we can get going on. Alrighty, and here we are for round one against LFC. Win the die roll, so of course we're going to go first. And I would imagine this hand's basically kind of what you want to see. We have like a 1 mana play and like opt. And obviously we don't know what our opponent's playing, but we're going in blind. I feel like this hand's pretty good. Opt can kind of get us can get us somewhere. So we'll do that. Opt. We probably don't want another treasure cruise, so we'll bottom that. Consider is probably pretty good. I would imagine we're probably gonna want more blue mana, so we're gonna play this on Riverglide Pathway. We'll play a Ledger Shredder. I'm going to imagine, yield to this turn. I'm going to imagine whatever our opponent's playing, it's probably going to be like the like green white, like hate bears, like humans style deck. Played against it before, and it was really, oh no, it's some kind of hardened scales deck. Okay. So we can go. All right, we'll lead on consider first. Yes, we'll put that in the graveyard. Draw a card. Consider again. Connive with the Ledger Shredder. Ditch a Phoenix. So already kind of getting to do what we want to do. Yeah, bin that. Draw a card. Spire Bluff Canal. Go ahead and attack. Unfortunately, couldn't cast another spell. I mean, if that Spell Pierce was, any one of our other like 1 mana things, we would have been in pretty good shape. But it is what it is. Lion Sash is technically an artifact creature, so yep. On this next turn, though, we're going to be set up pretty nicely. Exile a card from a graveyard. So we're going to play Storm Coast. So now we either have the option we can Galvanic Iteration, and if they don't do anything about it, we can just Treasure Cruise. I guess either way, like we kind of just get to go off. All right, cool. If they permanent, it gets a +1/+1 counter. I think we actually, as crazy as it might sound, not super experienced with playing the deck, but I'm not even going to give them the chance to like put a counter on this. So I'm actually just going to like double up on this. Definitely should have stacked these differently. Ditch the land. Yeah, because I could have drawn 6 cards and then could have drawn 6 cards there. Newly controlled. Yeah, so I've played a land. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's go ahead and attack. Kind of sucks we drew 6 cards. Kind of like the upside and the downside of it being that we did not really draw anything super good, but God, all right, we probably don't need this. Consider. I don't know. Do I want the second cruise? I know I put a cruise to the bottom. I want to keep the Spell Pierce. Definitely want the pieces of the puzzle. I'll probably just get rid of the treasure cruise. We could probably fuel up with another pieces of the puzzle. So they're going to eat that. It's a permanent card, okay. So we don't have to answer now. They just played this, I believe. Controls by LFC. It's another Sun Petal Grove, so they didn't play land yet. We will save the Lightning Axe just in case we draw a Phoenix. I think we just want to take a draw step. I hope this is not something to... Okay, Hangerback Walker for 1 comes into play with 2 counters on it. Start with Consider. Draw a card, okay. So... Oh boy. We can... Pieces of the Puzzle, which I think is what we want to do anyway. Do that. Hopefully hit another Phoenix off this, but we will hit Treasure Cruise, Pieces of the Puzzle. Interesting. I think I kind of want to cruise. Do that. Blue, go for a cruise. Hopefully they don't have their own way of like destroying anything. Get rid of this Hall of the Storm Giants. Spell Pierce probably is not going to be that good. But at least now with our hand set up, like we have 5 mana in play, like we can like Thing in the Ice and feasibly come up with a way to like get rid of all these. Hangerback Walker for 2. Third Hangerback Walker, so now we get to Connive. We'll actually ditch another Shredder. Now if we can get something pretty good, like we can just kill them. Pieces of the puzzle. Come on, Phoenix. Definitely want to ditch a Phoenix here. That'd be like clutch. Which we have a few shots at. Actually, that might do it. Well, we have 2 Phoenixes in there, yeah. So, play this. We will... I guess 2 spells. Actually, it doesn't matter how we do it. Yeah, it doesn't matter how we do it. I want to cast Temporal Trespass. That's way more fun. Yep, there we go. So, win that game. Any way that we did it probably wasn't going to matter, but that was really sweet. So there's some kind of like green-white counters deck. My first instinct is to bring in Anger of the Gods and Lava Coil, mainly for the Hangerback Walkers, even though I know that they can probably get pretty big and probably like outgain these. If they didn't have the hardened scales, these cards would have dealt with a lot of them at any time. I think that's it. I don't. There we go. All right. Only lost it for like a million seconds. That's fine. Ditch this. Get rid of Spell Pierce. Izzet might be all right. I kind of want to go down. It's actually difficult. I'm gonna go down Temporal Trespass. Do I even want 2 Anger of the Gods? I'm gonna try with 1. I'm gonna bring in those 3 cards. There might be some like better cuts and stuff. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with like playing this deck. I played like Phoenix decks in the past, but obviously none that are like this version. So um, we'll kind of see how that goes. I'm sure that I will make mistakes sideboarding. The better part about all of this is that we kind of learn like what's good and what's bad. And for me personally, I kind of like the idea of having the Anger of the Gods. I probably could have like foregone a Lava Coil and then just played Anger of the Gods instead, or maybe even like shave like a Fiery Impulse or something like that, which might have been okay. Um, we'll keep this hand just because we have two pieces of like 1 mana, digging through our deck. Of course, they have another Hardened Scales. Hall the Storm Giants. All right, we'll pass. The good thing is all of our lands are going to come into play untapped. Cool, they have a Steel Overseer. We're going to... You hate to see it. You really do. Um, we're going to try to find a removal spell. Oh, we missed. That kind of sucks. We definitely don't want the Steel Overseer going crazy, and that's probably what's going to happen is because they just have probably like a Hangerback Walker or something. Oh no, another Steel Overseer. Yikes. Do they have another Hardened? Okay, they have a Stonecoil Serpent. That's not good. Because now it's going to go up to 4, and it's already out of protection multicolored. Yeah. Yikes. Alright. Opt, you're going to need to do some work here. Actual factual just kind of flooding out. It's 4 counters, it goes up to 8. Let's go pieces of the puzzle. Of course, now we find Anger of the Gods. Didn't get to put the other pieces in hand. Lordy, lordy, lordy. That just might be all she wrote. The fact that like we somehow did not find a removal spell in our super heavy removal spell deck. Yeah, sure. It's gonna be some really big creatures. So this is like a green-white, like affinity list, almost like a +1/+1 counter. And I'm probably just dead here. Yeah, that's not gonna help. Yeah, pack that one up. I know that they can probably just go like way bigger. Other than the Stonecoil Serpent, they really don't have trample. Is Saheeli? Saheeli might be too much. Maybe Pyromancer? I almost kind of want Pyromancer. But I think I'm actually going to bring back in the Spikefield Hazard, because then that gives us plenty of removal, like on turn 1. We'll go first. We'll keep it. It's probably like land heavy. It's definitely land heavy, but at least, this opt is going to help us find some action. And we have a Spikefield Hazard for a 1-drop, which they're going to have. Iron Apprentice, play a counter when it dies. If it counters on, move those counters to a creature. Probably actually do want that piece of the puzzle. We'll pass. I was going to cast the Charter Course to try to bin the Phoenix, but I think I just want to keep up Spikefield Hazard. They didn't have a 1 mana thing, the Hardened Scales. So hopefully this means that they'll have a harder time trying to kill us. Grafdigger's Cage. Sure. Get rid of this. I'm going to do this now. It's probably not the smartest thing to do. I mean, I guess they want to like save it. That's what they really want to do. Which they do not. Coast. We have creatures that can't come back, but alright, sweet. We can only take 2 of these cards. We only have 1 Temporal Trespass left in the deck, too. Lava Coil. Take Lava Coil and Cruise. Pass the turn. If our opponent will allow us to pass the turn. And we're kind of just content with like playing lands, trying to find like threats, and then kind of going from there. Steel Overseer, okay. Perfect. Honestly, really perfect. I mean, this is... Obviously, we wish that the Lava Coil would kill something bigger, but... They have a way to save it. Hexproof and Indestructible, you gain 2 life. Alright, that kind of sucks, but, you know, we have a Phoenix that we can cast, and if we draw another land, we can, like, Phoenix and then, like, Treasure Cruise as well. Sure. Actually, this is perfect. Get some Ledger Shredder triggers. I think I just want to keep like actual spells. There we go. For 3. Probably could have like left that on red. Probably should have left it on red, but I don't think it'll necessarily matter. Whatever, 1 or more counters so I can start making 1/1s. But we're just going to start like really kind of doubling up on some spells. 3 mana. Like we could still even cast like pieces of the puzzle. Let's opt first. Actually kind of want that. Second spell. So I mean technically we could do this. Let's do this now. Get rid of Consider, get some Connive triggers. I still want both of these cards. Do an Impulse, grow that one. Let's have another way to protect it. Oh, okay, so they just wanted to like make some 1/1s? Okay, sure. Can't pay 1. We're definitely in a really good spot. With the way that we're set up, I mean, we can cast pieces of the puzzle into Treasure Cruise, and obviously if we find one spell with how our board currently looks, and with our opponent actually playing this Ganjo, which doesn't do anything really except like stop our... Actually, it might have been fine to like play, keep that as like a spell, depending on whatever this is. I was tapping a lot of mana. I don't know. I mean, it could be a big Hangback Walker, Stonecoil Serpent. Yeah, X5. Serpent, and then they can make a 1/1. So I had 6 mana. Piece of the puzzle, iteration, opt. Haha. Connive a bunch. Been an iteration. Been an opt. There we go. And now we can activate Hall if we need to. Protection from multicolored. Pretty sure, yeah, it's 3 mana. I'm gonna say it's probably very hard for them to try to win from here because I believe we have one more Phoenix left. Arclight, Arclight. Yeah, so we have like one more Phoenix that we can hit. We could activate Hall. It's 7/7, so then they have to like block, and they can't block these. What's this? They can choose a counter, add another one. They could technically do that and make 2 more, but that doesn't really matter. Make this 6, 7. I mean, we're not really. If they want to spend mana, they could like activate this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and then that's block. Take 7, 8. We go to 5, and then they're dead in the air. I don't think that there's a lot that our opponent can do to get out of this. At least, famous last words. Go to 4. Alright, well that's not very promising. Hope it's just activating this. Yes. Go there. 5, 6, 7, 8. Kill the biggest one that we can kill. Well, might technically be correct to play these out. 21 cards in deck, so we're not worried about decking out. True, I mean, we can kind of click buttons at random. And then that's it. That's game. Sweet. So we got kind of bullied in game 2, but game 3 we kind of managed to pull it back together. So that'll do for this match. Let's go ahead and hop into another one and kind of see how we do there. Hopefully we can play a little bit better. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to game 2. Game 2 and 3 are going to be post commentary because for whatever reason, when I actually recorded my matches, it didn't continue to record. So unfortunately, I lost like the live like talking out of things, but you know, we're still doing the thing. So we played against some weird like green white like scales deck. I ended up taking that down, and now we're assuming that we're playing against like a mono green deck. Later found out that it was some weird like green black like aggro like Dictos deck. So the hand that we kept, obviously we didn't know what they were playing. This hand I felt pretty confident in just because we had uh, things to do on turn 1 with like Lightning Axe or just casting Op to find like a third land. So we could just start casting multiple spells, and we had like Thing in the Ice to where if we were playing against like a relatively aggressive deck, we could play Thing in the Ice as like a blocker and then eventually just like flip it, bounce all the things back to our opponent's hand, pieces of the puzzle fueling our graveyard, just a little bit of everything that we want. So they play an elf. I immediately assume mono green devotion. We draw Hall of the Storm Giants, and if I wanted to just lead on Opt, I could have played Hall of the Storm Giants instead, but I wanted to just get rid of this elf because I know in like mono green and stuff, they can just kind of go off and this will set them back a turn or two and mana development as well. So from the devotion side and from the actual like mana production side. Um, this isn't so crazy. I still think it's mono green. Just from the Overgrown Tomb because I know that there was some decks that are playing like a single Overgrown Tomb for the fact that they could cast like the half of the Cauldron side of like Restorative Burst, the actual artifact side they can get with Karn. So I'm still thinking Mono Green Devotion just from the 3 cards that we've seen, but then they end up passing the turn. We find an Arclight Phoenix. We still just jam the Thing in the Ice and pass the turn. They play a Nykthos. Wolfwillow Haven for some reason on like the Nykthos instead of on Overgrown Tomb to possibly play a 2-drop. But you know, that's fine. So here we are. We play the Hall. Comes into play. I believe it does end up coming to play untapped. 2 or more other lands. Yeah. This comes into play untapped. Then we're able to just cast Pieces of the Puzzle, take a counter off the Thing in the Ice. I believe we only hit Treasure Cruise off this one, which is unfortunate, but at least here, like now we're in pretty good shape to be able to like flip this Thing in the Ice on our turn. They might just go get Transmogrifying Wand, which is a weird card to have. I'll just show it real quick. So they have Transmogrifying Wand, which can remove a counter to make something a 2/4, which is a really weird card to have in the sideboard of like mono green. And again, they have not showed us anything that would not tip us off to being mono green besides like an odd sideboard card in Transmogrifying Wand, which I don't even know if this is something that they play. And then like playing the Overgrown Tomb, which isn't like totally out of the realm of possibility. So we opt. We're essentially looking for a way to like ditch this Phoenix, but like we could also like do something about looking for a way to ditch the Phoenix, which we ended up finding with Charter Course, and then really wish we had like the Ledger Shredder, so we could have went Shredder and Opt, and that would have been a good way of doing it. Kind of would have sucked because we would have flipped Awoken Horror, but is what it is. That would have been a way that we could have guaranteed got rid of the bird. But now that we cast 3 spells, we end up getting the Phoenix back, which allows us to attack Karn and then attack our opponent's face. We could have just double attacked them and then possibly maybe, you know, just had like the game over a little bit faster. Not really worried about this troll because we're gonna have a fancy way of getting rid of it by like combining Fiery Impulse and Spikefield Hazard. Would have been a lot smarter, and I even said that like in the live commentary of this that I should have played Ledger Shredder first, and then I could have just like cast all these spells. I could have looted away like another land or something like that, but at least doing it this way, I believe we end up leaving Spell Pierce up. Put our opponent to 3, and then they have to have multiple answers, which they're not going to be able to produce. They have 2 cards in hand. Spell Pierce for like Karn to find something is fine because then they can't actually pay for it or anything like that. So we win game 1. Go to game 2. The second game was a lot faster. We decided to keep a hand on 6 cards that we're assuming that they're like mono green, and even though like Troll doesn't get beat by like Disdainful Stroke, I felt like having interaction for like the Elf on turn 1, consider to be able to dig through our deck, and then like Disdainful Stroke as just like an option to counter something big like the Cavaliers or the Karn or anything like that would be nice. And then Galvanic Iteration being a good like value piece if we find a card that we want to get rid of. We ultimately end up putting to the bottom the Galvanic Iteration, just because the rest of our cards will like do something. Treasure Cruise, not necessarily like the best draw, but you know, it's whatever. We just get to deal with their elf, and then they just kind of get to play Hardikirin and a Tormod's Crypt, which sucks. But you know, is what it is. Now getting to leave up disdainful, well, really consider for like a Disdainful Stroke, but like they just get to play a troll. Can't counter that. Get to consider. Hopefully, like stock up our graveyard a little bit. Another impulse, which unfortunately doesn't like kill anything, and I didn't want to impulse just to connive and stuff when they could get rid of our graveyard. And they just have like probably like the best like string of draws, where it's just like 4-power thing into 4-power thing, crew the other thing, and then attack. Um, and yeah, we just kind of get lit up here. Thought we could catch Treasure Cruise, and turns out we were 1 short. I thought it cost 7 total. It cost 8, and we just concede. Because I thought we were going to be able to trigger Ledger Shredder. I was hoping that we could have like gotten them by them not popping like Tormod's Crypt in response to a Fiery Impulse, giving us an opportunity to cast this Cruise. But that didn't happen, so say la vie. Game 3, we end up taking down this match. We get to go first. This hand we kept on the strength of Lava Coil on like on a big troll. We just get to play like one of these lands tapped. They get to play an elf if they got it, which of course they do. I believe, if I remember right, I let them untap with the elf. Like I decided to play Shredder because I'm assuming that they're gonna play Troll on their next turn, which I guess correctly they end up doing. So then like we're hoping to kind of like just hopefully draw lands, but we miss. That's fine. Get in for 1 point. Pretend like the 1 point won't matter because it's not really gonna matter if they get in. Their turn, they play a Damping Sphere, which is kind of annoying for us, but then like they end up casting a spell which lets us ditch Arclight Phoenix. The Damping Sphere is going to make things difficult for us in terms of getting back these Phoenixes, but with like pieces of the puzzle and like some of these delve spells, it's going to be pretty easy to just kind of get ahead. We even ditch like another Phoenix, get in for another 2 points damage. Hoping to draw like a 1-drop, but I believe with how we're set up, like we're able to Charter Course Treasure Cruise, which will let us connive and put more counters on this. And there they go with the Lair of the Hydra. This game from here, like our opponent really didn't get to do a whole lot afterwards. It's like here we're gonna like Charter Course, we're gonna get rid of this Phoenix, and then we're able to actually instead of casting Lightning Axe on one of these Dorks, we're able to Lightning Axe the Lair of the Hydra if that's what they choose to do, and they end up activating it. It ends up being a 3-power thing, which sucks that this isn't Fiery Impulse, but that's fine because we just get to get rid of it, stunt their mana development further, play another Shredder, and then cast a Treasure Cruise. I believe we get to leave like 2 Phoenixes in the bin, connive some more, get rid of that, get rid of a land, I believe. Yeah, we end up getting rid of Hall, draw 3 cards, drawing another Ledger Shredder, which is going to be pretty nice. because then we get to go like Shredder into Consider, or like start playing like Thing in the Ices. So then, yeah, we're just kind of like firing on all cylinders here. We decided to go like Thing in the Ice and then cast another Ledger Shredder for 3 mana, connive some more, get rid of some spells that we don't necessarily need, and we can just kind of set up a turn where we cast Temporal Trespass and then kill our opponent. Shock that into play because we now have 2 Fiery Temper or Fiery Impulses. Probably would have been better to like cast out like on their upkeep, but if they want to get in with that, sure. We block just to make sure that we don't die to anything like stupid. Get some extra connive triggers, and at this point we don't really need honestly probably don't need any of these spells. Like we're probably going to discard Seagate Restoration because it wasn't going to really do anything. Then we get to like Fiery Impulse, like an elf, and then, or yeah, Fiery Impulse and elf because they're going to be tapped out, and then just attack, attack and win the game that way. So that is match number 2. Kind of like when we fired off, we went really well, and even though like this kind of sucks because like I knew about this deck and we should have been more careful, but I decided to play very aggressive. I was just feeling myself that day. Kept this hand. We end up finding out that it's like Boros aggro, which I'm sure probably isn't like a terrible matchup for this deck, but like we ended up getting absolutely slaughtered. So fiery impulse pieces of the puzzle. Temporal trespass makes us like functional like mulligan to 6, but whatever. We have a consider, which we hit the best card, Arclight Phoenix, in our bin. This one, I believe we just decided to like cycle the charm, get rid of the temporal trespass, and then go into pieces of the puzzle, which only ends up finding one spell on opt. Our opponent decides to play Illuminator, which is a card I definitely should have had more respect for. Decide to try to kill it, spell pierce that. It works out great in our favor. And then we also get to like Treasure Cruise, bring back a Phoenix, hit for 3, and from here I really should have like stayed back on defense. Like this is a game that we definitely like could have won had we played just maybe a tad safer. Really just kind of like trying to go for the home run and hit some more Arclight Phoenixes, and it just was not working out. Um, this attack here, they just kind of get to like draw some extra cards, get in with like a favorite Hoplite. Decide to keep Ledger Shredder, play one of them, and then like cast an Impulse. More than likely they have a spell to target it, which Reckless Rage being one of the worst ones to actually get rid of Ledger Shredder. But we end up finding another Phoenix. And then now we're just hoping to like cruise and find a way to bring back like the other Phoenix, which we end up finding an opt. Choose to bottom that, bring back another Phoenix. Get in for 1, leaving back 1 I thought was safe, because they'd have to give them both like trample, like both protection from red. But then they just have Invigorated Rampage into Invigorated Rampage, which made this exact or no, they had and they had another one in hand, so they got to cast 3 Invigorated Rampages to kill us that time, which unfortunate, but it is what it is. That's a thing that happens. Go to the next game. I'm definitely like, okay, I still need to be like kind of aggressive and put pressure on them. Turns out that is not the case. Decide not to Lightning Axe because typically, so this is something I will say, typically the Boros aggro decks will hold off on playing like their 1-drops, especially if it's like favorite Hoplite on turn 1 and wait until turn 2, for the fact that they want to be able to leave up a protection spell for it. So knowing that, I have options to where like I could leave up Izzet or like Lightning Axe, which is like less good, but I could just like play a Ledger Shredder on tap of my turn, play this pathway, and then I have like Izzet to deal 2 damage to the Hoplite. They go to target it, I respond with like Lightning Axe or whatever, or I could try to Lava Coil it and then respond with Lightning Axe as well. So kind of knowing that that's what they're setting up, I decide to play Ledger Shredder over just leaving up removal. Instead of them playing a 1-drop and leaving up protection, or playing a Hoplite and leaving up a spell, they just played Dreadhorde Arcanist. And here I believe I go for main phase Charm to draw 2, discard 2, get rid of a Phoenix, and then Lightning Axe so I can trigger the Connive on the Ledger Shredder. Unfortunately, not being able to bring back a Phoenix, but you know, it is what it is. Drawing a land, didn't really want to see that. They cast God's Willing, you know, to blank our removal spell. At this point, I just want to. I debate on either like playing Treasure Cruise, which could get rid of my whole graveyard, but then I get rid of like the Arclight Phoenix that's in there. But then it just doesn't matter because then our opponent just kind of like super hardcore like kills us. We ditch the Lightning Axe because we won't be able to cast it. We don't have a card to discard for its alternate cost. Our opponent just like has everything they could possibly need to like kill us from 20 as well. So kind of sucks. I mean, our opponent would have put us to 5, and then they still would have had this 7/7 double striker. Um, and Fortunately, we can't draw cards. But yeah, that was that. So the list, I'll get to it real quick. That is not what I want. The list itself, I mean, we did really well with it, going 2-1. Maybe could have played cleaner in game in match 3, but in the first 2 matches we single-handedly, you know, control what we can control, made some mistakes, and found out the deck is still good. So the deck, while maybe not totally forgiving if you make mistakes, it is a deck nonetheless that like you could make some sequencing errors and still come ahead in game. So yeah, that's the Arclight Phoenix deck for Pioneer. Deck's great. I said it in the video too that I like the deck, and after getting to play it, get my hands on it, the Temporal Trespass I thought were kind of like memey gimmicky, but it was actually pretty sweet. Like the um, times where like it would have came up to like cast it, it would have actually been very impactful. You know, it just easily wins the game when you can attack for a bunch of damage and then take an extra turn after it, or even Galvanic Iteration into Temporal Trespass. I mean, it's 5 mana, but for a deck that plays 19 lands, technically 21 with because of Seagate and Spikefield Hazard, you do hit your land drops pretty consistently, and you can just, like I said, put a bunch of Phoenixes into play, or flip a thing in the ice, or have a big Ledger Shredder, and then just like take an extra turn and just win the game that way to get in the last points of damage. Force your opponent to make bad blocks, and then take an extra turn and more than likely their board's either decimated from trying to stop you from killing them, or you just outright win the game. So definitely worth checking out and playing. If this is a deck that you've played before, Arclight Phoenix is still a really good deck. Honestly, probably like I would say near the running for like one of the best decks you can play in the format, especially if this deck does get to like interact with mono green the way that we get to do it in that second match. So that's going to do it for me in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed some of the gameplay, and if you did, leave a like on the video if you want to see more of it. Hope to play some more Pioneer decks in the future, and hopefully qualify for the Mana Traders event, because that would be something pretty cool to stream or record or anything like that. So yeah, that's going to do it for me in this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next one.